Welcome to USA Global TV and Radio, where our mission is to provide education, entertainment, hope, and inspiration. USA Global TV and Radio connects you with experts and audiences all around the world every single day to help you succeed in business and to live a richer life. Visit us at usaglobaltv.com to learn about career and life-changing training and mentoring programs like the Listening Mentor. Subscribe to our newsletter to stay informed about our special programs and offers. Discover how you can become a guest on one of our shows or a host or producer of a USA Global TV and Radio show of your very own. That's USA Global TV and Radio, where the doctor is always in.
Hello and a very warm welcome from the UK. My name is Dr. Madalenechan and I'm going to be presenting the film and music show on USA Global TV and Radio. So for today's show, we have an exciting show. In fact, we have a wonderful lady. She's amazing. She's a really good friend and I've worked on many projects, and so has Dr. Jacqueline worked with this amazing lady as well. She is known for being in the arts and performance. She also runs her own charity, World Jenny's Day, about mental health well-being. Also, she has also put on a few performances of music, dance. She comes from a long lineage of performers in her family. And up to recently, she's actually a songwriter too. So I'm very, very, very happy. And she's also agreed to come along and co-host for today's show, for Film and Music Show. So I'm going to introduce her, the lovely Jenetta Barry.
Hello, Maddie. Hello, everybody. Dr. Jackson in the back there, our producer. It's wonderful to be back.
Hi, Jenetta. Hello. It is lovely. And might I say, you're looking radiant. Absolutely. The scarf you're wearing and your makeup and your eyes. You're looking amazing.
You know, just stick around.
You totally go with the background, with the lights, your hair. Just,
I was actually thinking you and I match quite nicely. And
yeah,
we didn't coordinate, did we, darling?
No, we didn't. We didn't even talk about what we were going to wear or anything like that. So, So, Jenetta, what have you been up to lately?
Yeah, it's been a long time since I've been on USA Global TV hosting my own shows. I miss it tremendously, but it's been a really good year of taking things very, very slowly. I've had quite a difficult year health-wise. So this has been my time to take a deep, deep breath. And so what we're doing is we're reevaluating World Jenny's Day so that it can become even more powerful and effective. And in the meantime, promoting things like what we are tonight, which is something very close and dear to my heart. And the reason for that is that I grew up, as Maddie mentioned, in a world surrounded by theatre. My mum was a West End performer. My dad was an impresario. And in the early 60s, he actually took over a recording studio in East Africa, Kenya, and became known as the father of Kenyan music. He is the man that invented African twist, which is very famous in East Africa. And that's why today having somebody as prestigious as we're going to have from Kenya is just so meaningful to me and for me. And keeping the legacy of Kenyan and East African music alive, I think, is really very, very important. And so with that, I'd like to introduce to you all this evening Paul Kalemba, or it could be this afternoon if we're in the States, or early evening if we're in the UK. But Paul is an amazing man, such a wonderful character, personality, person in his own right, but has been actually a cartoonist for, first of all, the Nation newspaper in Kenya, and then it moved over to the Saturday Standard, and he makes the most amazing cartoons. And he's also chairman of Kettlebell Music. And I would like to not spend any more time introducing him, but bring him up, ladies and gentlemen, Paul Kalemba.
Hi.
Hey, Paul.
Hi there, Paul. Nice to meet you.
Hi, everybody.
I should actually say Paul, aka Mado.
That's right. Yeah. Oh, yes. I'm really used to the name Mado.
Yes.
I love the name Mado. Beautiful.
Well, that's a very good intro. So, Paul, would you like to tell us why you called yourself Mado for your cartoons? First of all, how did you get into cartoons? Because your cartoons are amazing. And secondly, why the name Mado?
Well, many thanks for having me. Well, you know, as a young guy, those many years ago, we were consumers of American comics. So my dad used to buy Mad magazine of New York, you know, Alfred Newman, and we consumed that a lot. And remember, it's MAD, the magazine in New York. I got so inspired by those artists there. So when I got a shot at doing what I do today, and that's a long time ago, I decided to take up a pen name. Actually, what occurred is that I worked under an ex-Fleet Street journalist by the name of Brian Tetley. And he told me that my surname, which is Kalemba, is a bit too long for cartoons, you know, to sign off cartoons. So he told me, look for something brief and mysterious, you know. So I remembered Mad magazine and I took it up. But then I told myself, add another D. So it actually does double D. So it's MADD. I started off that way, Mad. But then the O was added by my fans in the 1990s, late 80s, 1990s. We have that way of calling ourselves when we shorten our names in Kenya, you know, like Steve becomes Steve O. So from Mad, I became Mado. And actually it did have its, you know, everybody was like in the early days, so who is this? They want to find out. And many of them will ask me, is it a state of your mind or just a name? But it's actually just a name.
Wonderful. I wanted to, sorry, Maddie, I wanted to also say I've got a few of the cartoons before we go any further. Dr. Jacqueline, would you like to share there we go. Here's Mado, and some of his cartoons at the top here. But let's see if we can, why is this not showing? Doing well. Here we go. There we go. So that's the type of cartoons that he produces. A lot of it's satirical. A couple of times, Mado has featured, well, Jenny's Day, I think, and you've also featured Inside Theatrical production at one stage. And I remember at the 50th anniversary of Kenya's independence, you even put a little piece in with my dad there, celebrating Legends of the 50 years. Yeah. So that gives you a little bit. And then, of course, there's Kettlebell Music, which we'll go on to just now. But Maddie, I know you had something to ask.
I was just going to ask, actually, Paul, with Mad magazine, was that a magazine that was in the 1970s?
Yes, actually it ran from the 1950s. It went to the 60s, 70s, 80s, into the 90s. It's only been, I think it's gone online right now. You know, you're pretty much aware about what's going on with print publications. So it couldn't survive either. And yes. And most of the original artists kind of became pretty elderly. and we've lost a
Yes.
number in the past few years.
But I
But
was
it
going to
does still
say,
struggle
yeah.
as an online publication right now.
Well, I love your evolving. I would say it's the evolving. If Mad Magazine was to go on to the next
Yes.
level, you,
Yeah.
Paul, have produced that. And I love your self-portrait as well, Mado. I love that.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. It's
Yes. And what I've
so
been doing all
colourful.
along is that I didn't really, as much as Mad Magazine inspired me, but you see now here in Africa we're dealing with a totally different kind of audience. So I had to vary it a little. So I do lots of politics. It sells very well in Kenya, and I also comment a lot on society. I also comment on culture and the arts. In fact, that's how now my interest in music comes in, where I feature musicians. I've supported them in as much as I can through my column over the years. Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Wow.
And how long does it take? Sorry, Jenetta, I just want to just quickly. I'm fascinated. How long does it take from a clean canvas to?
It's pretty labor intensive because an artist like myself, I have to interact with so many people. I draw so much inspiration from or ideas from those that I meet, the people that I socialize with, and also I do lots of research because there's also some technical stuff that I slip in once in a while: space travel, aviation, submarines, and all that, and also obviously politics. I really need to one in this kind of a job. You actually become a political analyst at the end of the day. It's only that I don't write my stuff down; I do it visually. So there's lots of analysis that I do, and if I dare say some little predictions, when you look at the trend of politics in such a country such as ours, and our politics are really hot, and so putting all that together takes me at least a minimum of 3 days. Remember, this is a weekly and it's composite, so the little bits of stuff all over, the politics in one corner, arts in one corner, and so on. It will putting up the ideas will take me even longer than that, because I'm always scribbling. I'm always putting down notes and so on what to do. Then I have to go through them, sort stuff out. So what am I going to use this week? And half of it, actually, half the page, it's a full page. Half of it has to be topical. So politics is topical. When it comes to the other bits, the other entries that I do, not so much topical, but something at least very current as it is. If I'm talking about theater or talking about music, but politics have to do it, and it has to be that week. And my editors want me to submit my stuff on Thursday night for a Saturday publication, which is a little tricky because there are times that things change, and things are changing so rapidly these days, because of social media. So I've managed to convince them that to file on Friday afternoons, when I'm sure that the political guns have gone still or something like that. But if something happens, towards the evening, then I kind of miss it out. But it does take 3 days. As I say, it's pretty involving because I'm an old school artist, so I don't use the tablet like my younger colleagues. I'm still pen and paper. And yeah, oh yes, pen and paper. But I do scan that. I scan my artwork into the system, and then use now the software that is available, to color. I've introduced color into my caricatures, and also do the texts. And today we've got lots of cartoon-friendly text. So I'm not talking about Times Roman. I'm talking about stuff that is easy and goes very well with cartoons. So it takes quite a while. In fact, let's put it at 4 days every week.
Wow. So it's kind of like a full-time job.
That's right.
And then on top of it, you've got kettlebell music. Now, I've never asked you this. What got you into music? Were you a band member and then you progressed into kettlebell music, becoming chairman? How did that happen?
Wow. Okay, it's a long story, but let me make it as short as I can. When I was uh, when I was 10 years old, I thought that I was going to become a musician. When I turned 11, I told myself, no, I can't make it. You really need quite one huge uh, brain, that brain capacity to remember all the lyrics, remember what you're playing and all that. But I did start off by doing some little guitar and piano. Told myself, okay, I'm not good. I don't think this is really the direction. So I went into doing cartoons instead. But I never ran away from music as such. So I've always been hanging around musicians ever since I was a kid. Really, they just amaze me. How somebody can sing 10 songs. Remembering each and every word in the lyrics, and especially those who can play a piece of instrument and sing as well. And also those who are very good at writing and arranging their own music. So this has really worked with so many of them. I've actually supported several bands as it is over time, pretty much in a small way, but it does help as it is. I've been very close to a group called the Mushrooms, who lost their leader just the other day, name of Teddy Kalanda. Uh, it's a group made up of siblings, and I've known this group ever since the late 1970s. So this is actually one of the longest running groups in this country, having been established way back in 1972. They also the guys who've been doing some funky stuff. The guys who do rumba music, and there's more the more traditional styles like benga music. I've followed them all. In Kenya, you really have to. You can't really afford just to be in one line. I'm a jazz enthusiast, really, but in a country such as ours, you will leave this establishment, go to another one, and they're playing entirely different music. So you really want to be flexible and so on, and that's what I find myself as. I've also I've advertised for these people their gigs, helped them buy equipment and so on. They find some kind of that's a support of ours. The Congolese in Nairobi will call people such as us presda, a supporter, somebody who gives their time and other resources to musicians. Because of my interest, a friend of mine, long-lasting friend, and his name is Tabu Susa, is the founder of Ketable Music. So he told me after all those years that we've been together talking about music, supporting musicians, arranging live gigs and so on. He told me we had actually just set up a company called Ketable Productions, which is commercial, doing all sorts of music production, including what's the craze today, hip hop and rap. But it's like most of it has been doing more authentic music, more music that is more African than what we see is leaning towards the West. So he told me you are setting up a non-for-profit outfit called Ketable Music. So he invited me on the board, and that's where I'm now chairman. We've done plenty over the past 11 years. Ketable Music basically goes out, researches, documents, and archives various music styles. Our goal is to not let our own African music roots disappear, because now we've been overwhelmed so much with stuff from the West. There's so much of that. And sometimes I say that we've actually kind of lost, in quotes, I hope I'll be forgiven, lost a generation as it is, because now all young folks here are doing hip hop and rap and some associated styles to that. And yes.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, Paul. I was just going to say, it's just come to my mind now. In the UK, we have what you call strictly dancing, and strictly dancing of all different types of music, rumba, the waltz, boogie woogie type of thing. So do you have anything like that in Kenya? Because if you don't, then maybe you should set something up, because I can see that would work really well.
Exactly. This is exactly what we're trying to do. Now in Kenya, you won't really find all those styles. You just mentioned the walls with everything else. Walls is supposed to be a little ancient to young folks. But if it comes under one house, then this is absolutely brilliant. For us here, it's not possible to have all these styles, under one roof, like Benga music, for example, rumba, hip hop, and everything else that we have here. You really can't package package it and sell it to a particular audience. It's really out of the question. But however, we've got all these styles all over the place. There are different places, different venues. In fact, we are so pretty diverse that I think we're one of the societies on earth that are pretty diverse in their music styles. Some years ago, actually, in Washington, D.C., we were told the same at the Smithsonian Folklore Music Festival. We were told, actually, you Kenyans, because, we are talking about, let's say, Somali people who are Kenyans, the Somali people in Kenya, and the Kisii people, the Kikuyu, the Luo, the Luos, the Kikuyus, they all have different styles of music, but they come under the envelope of the Kenyan nation. It's only that I emphasize again that you really won't find them in one house as such.
No. Paul,
Thank you
I
for
know
answering that.
I would like to take what you're saying as a good opportunity to move over to the theatrical production that you're all spearheading at Kettlebell Music. And you were telling me the other day that the French and German embassy are sponsoring it, which is really amazing. And what I noticed, and you can correct me with this, at the time that my father was expanding music in Kenya, and he brought out African Twist, that really would have defined Kenya as the reggae of Kenya at that time. And I think it would have morphed if things hadn't stopped with my dad. It would have morphed so that Kenya would have had its own style and not have to copy quite so much. And obviously, I've gone over to pop because you're referring now on to pop for different tribes.
That's right.
But for international pop. And now you've decided to do African Twist, the theatrical production. Do you want to tell us why and what that's about?
Yes, of course. I'm thrilled to do so. One of my regrets in life is that I never met your dad. But I met several artists who worked under him. Fadili William, I met Daudi Kabaka and others, quite a number. And they're all full of praise of your father, Charles Warren, and the efforts that he had in the early 1960s in Kenya. Now, one thing is that obviously music is dynamic, music moves on, music will change, and it will never be the same thing all the way through. And also, good music and good musicians will always be inspired by others, even from other cultures. They will borrow, so to speak. They will maybe turn whatever they've borrowed into their own, and this is exactly what happened in the early 1960s, late 50s, early 60s in Kenya, because we didn't really have a definite or a distinct nationwide music style as such. We've always had our traditional styles, which are pretty rich, by the way. So when your dad took over, I think the company was called East African Records, just at the start of the 1960s, he looked at what we had, because they were actually great musicians already around there. People playing guitar. The guitars had been introduced to us after the Second World War, electric guitars that is, but we've always had stringed equipment, of course. Fundi Konde, who's a pioneer in Kenyan music, came all the way from Burma from the Second World War with an electric guitar, and that one just wowed people. It was different and so on. So people like your dad actually found this different, and we saw that talent in them, and assembled quite a formidable team locally, and also invited two Zambians who were in Nairobi. I think he had met them in his time in South Africa. This is Nashel Pichen and Peter Sosi. I think they met in South Africa, and these two men had taken some styles from their own backgrounds in Zambia, along with the Kwela music of South Africa. When they gelled this, Mr. Warrod, your dad, he saw the future of African music. So in Nairobi, this was fused with what people like Daudi Kabaka already had. And that's how now we came out with the African twist. And remember, obviously, twist being something that is attributed to, what's his name, the American twist great, Chubby Checker.
Chubby Checker, yes.
Yes, Chubby Checker is actually who kind of popularized the twist music and twist style. Now that is actually what we also took here. So you can see the various elements. There's Kwela from South Africa. There's some Zambian traditional music styles. There are Kenyan, a host of Kenyan genres, because the musicians that your father put together were not necessarily from the same place. Fadili William was all the way from southeast Kenya, amongst the Taita people. Daudi Kabaka was from the western side, amongst the Luya people, and yet these people came together. There are quite a number of others there. There was Juma Toto from the Luo people. There's quite a crowd of them. Now, these are the people who came up and gave us the African twist under the supervision of your dad. It wasn't really, Chubby Checker's kind of twist. It had been borrowed and we ran away with it. Chubby Checker was...
Dad, I'm interrupting you because obviously most of our audience, apart from the ones watching from Kenya tonight, don't know what African twist is. And Dad always said, he went, okay, there's Chubby Checkers and that. How can we make it different and more African? So he did the twist on the offbeat. And so Dad said, let's try it on the offbeat. And this was pre-reggae. In fact, Dad always used to say, I wonder if Jamaica actually listened to us first. He often used to say that to me.
You're actually very right, yeah. You're very right, because at that time, in the early 60s, we didn't have the reggae that we have today. It was actually ska. This was very dry, very traditional, it was just taking shape. I think there's a lady somewhere who's credited with early forms of ska, My Boy Lollipop kind of stuff. So we didn't really have the Bob Marley kind of, the roots reggae that came. And you're very right, Jenetta. The sound that your dad put together had some kind of, okay, let me just call it a riff of some sort, a repeated kind of riff of that would precede today's reggae. But yes, it wasn't really reggae as such, and I'm happy for you to tell us that there was some little offbeat kind of twist. Yes, it was. The Chubby Checker, I have a thrill on Blueberry Hill, and the rest. Actually, no, that was somebody else. But let's skip that.
Was that Hank Williams? Blueberry Hill?
Blueberry Hill.
Domino.
Yeah. I was thinking, I don't remember doing a twist to that, Chubby Checker.
Yes.
Come on, baby, let's do the twist. But offbeat, how would that sound like, Paul? How would that sound?
You see, what Charles Warrod now introduced to us was, let's say, a song will go, Harambe, Harambe, Tuimbe, Pamoja. Yeah, Harambe.
More. Let's hear more.
And the song is called Harambe, Harambe. It means pulling together. If you manage to get it from online somewhere, the song is available. You shall note that the bass line was absolutely rock. And rock and twist are not far apart. They're really...
Oops, We've
Yeah,
lost
we
him.
seem to have lost him.
Okay, so
I'm interested
Paul,
about that offbeat.
yeah,
I can't get it.
it's really it's you're twisting and it's going, it's on the offbeat, and Dad did it on purpose to make it entirely unique to East Africa. And when reggae started coming out, and Bob Marley and all of them, Peter Sotsi or whatever his name was, Tosh, Peter Tosh.
Peter Tosh.
He had the Peter Sotsi, they had the Peter Tosh. He used to say, this has followed us. And I'm almost certain, rather like the Tremolos took one of Dad's songs and used it in the UK and it was on the top charts. He went, I'm telling you, Bob Marley and co, listen to my dad's offbeat twist. So it's da 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 da, and it's all on the offbeat, all of it. To give you an example of one of the songs, and one of the things that I wanted Paul to be able to talk about, and hope we'll be able to get him back for the last few minutes, is years ago when I came back from New York. I had this dream to set up a music museum, East African Music Museum. And that's when Paul and Kettlebell and all of us got together, and the funds just weren't there. And it's looking very promising that something will happen fairly soon. And they had said to me then they wanted to do a movie on my dad and the music that Equator, his label was Equator Records. Of all the music recorded ever in East Africa, you could always tell an Equator recording at its high quality of recording and content. And so they'd wanted to do this movie. And again, funds are a bit limited to do something so ambitious. And so Paul contacted me a couple of months ago and said, we're not doing that for now, but we're doing a theatrical production. And it's going to be staged in Nairobi, courtesy of the French and the German embassy, and at Alliance Française. And it's basically taking the personalities, the performing personalities of that era. So we're talking about the 60s and early 70s, in the time that Dad had his Equator record label here. And they're going to depict their lives, their stories, and some of them are incredibly unusual stories. And put Dad's music in between. But I believe Paul is back, and he's the one that's putting this together with others at Kettlebell Music. So Paul, welcome back.
It sounds amazing. Yes, welcome back, Paul. Thank you. He's here somewhere.
Okay, yes.
Yes.
Sorry, I have no idea what happened.
Yes, you're back. Fabulous.
Yes.
So Paul, I mentioned
Yes.
about African Twist, the theatrical production. It's at Alliance Française, being backed by the two embassies. It's featuring artists from that time and their true stories, and putting Dad's music in between. Would you like to give a little bit more meat to that background story?
Yes, sure. So Tabu and I sat down and told ourselves, we need to bring these memories alive. Allow me to mention that we've done quite a number of products. We have a number of products, packages. That's a video documentary, a narrative, and an audio, all packed together. And we also got a publication, which is a 600-page book titled Shades of Benga, which looks at Kenyan music from 1946 to 2016. So we told ourselves, have we done enough? We don't feel so. So we want to bring it out alive, to recapture the moments of that era of the swinging 60s as that decade was known. And the best way to do that will be through a movie or a short television series That is actually in the works. But we told ourselves to expedite some things, to speed up some things, to put out these memories. We need to do a stage production. So this is what we are working on right now. And we told ourselves, why not just use the title as African Twist, the sound of Kenya's independence. So the story covers the years between 1960 and 1970. After 1970, obviously, your father left the country because of other reasons. We shall always illustrate that in our stories. This play is going to capture the main events of that decade, how some music was put together, especially the very famous track called Malaika, which your father found in the catalog of East African Records. It was first recorded in 1959. We're illustrating that in our play, and it was a poor recording as it was. But now, since he was quite a professional, he told Fadili William and the rest that let's redo it. And what we actually listened to is what was done by your father at Equator Sound, recorded in 1963. So we want to capture that. One thing that what I should hasten to say is that we are dramatizing it. So as much as it is a story based on real people and real events, it's actually dramatized. There are some lines that we know that these people said. We know what Charles Warroad said at a certain point. We know what Fadili Williams said and the others. But we are dramatizing it so that it's appealing. And we actually want also to make connections, if I may just say this very quickly, we want to make connections with the future, with what's going on right now, to make, to excite young minds.
It sounds absolutely fascinating, a wonderful movement there, Paul. And we will definitely have to invite you back over for part 2, along with Jenetta as well. But we are sadly coming to a close. And I'm saying sadly because I feel like this nearly 40 minutes has just gone so quick, so fast. So please do come along. But Paul, for our viewers, how can they contact you? Can you let our viewers know how they can contact?
Sorry, there's a little bit of discussion.
How can our viewers contact you?
Okay, I've got a small online presence. One just needs to search for, well, my name Paul Kelemba, Mado, M-A-D-D-O. I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram and X, along with Threads as well. But I've got a small little, they call it a stub on Wikipedia. So I can, anybody looking for information on me can actually reach me just by, Googling.
That's lovely. And thank you so much for being a guest. And please do come back for part 2. And Jenetta, my lovely, how can our viewers reach you? Because you are especially talented and you can give so much wealth of advice and guidance to people out there.
Oh, wow. Thank you. And thank you, Dr. Jacqueline, for the banner. You can get hold of me at various places. There's worldjennysday.com. There's also the epiphanyprocess.com, if that's another way. And I am on Facebook as Jenetta Barry, so you can get hold of me there. And World Jenny's Day is on Facebook as well. So any of those areas, you can get hold of me quite easily, and I'm very happy to chat. Any matters to do with mental health or becoming skilled in thank you, Dr. Jacqueline. That's the epiphany process there. And that was born out of having lost a child to suicide and having to work through that loss myself. Actually gave me incredibly powerful tools to do the same for others. I'm just about to take on somebody who was attacked in Lebanon last week, and with an AK-47. So that has helped me to help so many people in distress, and the world Jenny's Day charity as well has helped people to start dealing with depression and suicide using theatre and the arts as a very powerful tool to normalize conversations around depression and suicide. And Maddie here is our co-executive producer of World Jenny's Day, and we're both trustees of the charity. So it's close to both our hearts, and it's what brought us together through Dr. Jacqueline. And yes, you can contact me at either of those websites. So thank you very much, Dr. Jacqueline, and thanks, Maddie.
And thank you, Jenetta, and thank you, Paul Kalemba. And unfortunately, we've got to close the show now. I just want to say thank you to our sponsor, Audi K Barrier, in association. Oh my goodness, Dr. Jacqueline's brought me up. Okay, yep, you can see this is my website, Dr. Madalenechan, and you can see what I do. I'm a Soul Heart Awakener. I'm a novelist, children's novelist, singer-songwriter, artist. And yeah, please do contact me. That will be wonderful. My goodness, Dr. Jacqueline, you just put a surprise in there. As I was saying, our sponsor, thank you to our sponsor, Audi K Barrier, in association with Songs for You. And we will see you next week for the Film and Music Show, same time next week. But meantime, Jenetta and Paul, thank you so much. And please do come back for part 2. Thank you. Thank you, viewers. Thank you, Dr. Jacqueline. Thank you, USA Global TV and Radio. And from the UK and Kenya, we say, and America, we say good night.
My name is Dr. Felix Kravitz, and I am the founder of cybersecurityeasy.com, LLC. We live in a world full of vulnerabilities and cyber risks. We spend almost 4.5 hours a day on our mobile phones. It's over 7 hours of screen time daily when including computer use. We often forget that this convenience comes with risks. Published data predicts that the cost of cybercrime will exceed $10.5 trillion in 2025. These numbers encompass not only businesses, but also each one of us, including our children and our parents. In 2023, the FBI reported over $3.4 billion lost by seniors aged 60 and older. Cybersecurityeasy.com LLC's initiative is to massively support the community by providing cyber safety coaching and improving social engineering awareness. Our goal is to make social engineering concepts of cybersecurity easier to understand. We work with business teams, seniors, and educational institutions, both individually and in groups. We cover various topics from phone phishing attacks to AI-generated voice cloning, robocalls, password protection, and more using life examples. Talk to us today. Call us at 847-845-9360 or email us at info@cybersecurityeasy.com.